the guest is the one that needs to be heard. So, all right. So first, let me explain to you how the chairs work. The chairs are global, so if you want to ask a question to the guest, you'll just grab the red card that's in front of you. It'll lift the chair up. When it lifts the chair up, you will go global. So Jody, just know that you're global, standing up there. Um,
My bad.
if
I'll
you
get
want,
down.
no, you're good. Just grab the card again, and it brings the chair back down. Right. It's a two-step process, so you have to confirm the chair going up. But once you do, it does go global, and then the guests can hear you from wherever you are. So they can also see you too. So once you're elevated, they can see you up there. So, man, thank y'all for being here. Seriously, I'm always grateful and humbled by people taking the time out to spend time with me in this world. As you all know, this is a second iteration of the world. The first one glitched out. Nobody was able to get into the world, including myself. So I had to build the world from scratch. So if you don't mind helping the algorithm, just liking the world if you get a chance, that would be awesome for the algorithm. Also respectful to the guests as we try to get this world seen and be a platform for people to tell their story. Um, so, man, welcome to season three of Meta Talks Live. I dedicated season three for some of the creators that have been in here since the beginning of the beta rollout, which was usually November, December, January, sometime around there. But these creators on this season have really, really been putting in work for a long time, and this is just a way for me to kind of allow people to tell their story, allow the creators to tell the story to the number of new people that are on the platform. So today's guest is no different, man. Wow, what can I say about this guest? So first, I would say is, I have a pretty large network of people that I foster and take seriously. But man, I can tell you, like this guy has really helped me from day one. He's absolutely been the Jimmy Cricket on my shoulder to keep me humble, and an absolute voice of reason when I've needed it. Because there are times where I'll get to talking, and he'll just be in my ear, Rupert, 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 and that basically means to just slow down and listen more, man. And I value that immensely. Um, we worked together on a pretty big build in here, right? I knew he wanted to do some things based around scripting, and so the opportunity arose for us to create and be part of a pretty decent project, and that was a Times Square build. But man, I tell you, he has had a vision for what he wants to do in this space, which he'll talk about. Um, his lane is gaming, and it's been pretty amazing to watch his development and to see what he's been able to do within the space, and where it's led to. Right, I think everybody is familiar with the game that he created, Regal Boxing. Uh, Probably one of the fastest growing games on the entire platform and one of the most successful. An amazing project that he was very methodical in creating. But not only that, man, he's probably one of the most supportive and realist persons on this entire platform. He has no problem sharing, promoting, and talking about other people's success on a continuous basis, and he's been like that since day one. So again, I'm not going to tell his story for him. I'm actually going to let him come out and tell it. So let's welcome to the stage, Meta Big Chief, coming out, brother. Stage is yours, homie.
All right.
Woo!
So let me get this chair here. Now I'm gonna move around. All right. So first of all, I'd like to thank Metaclean Rupert for inviting me here to his show. It's been a long time coming. He's been kind of hinting at me coming since season one, but I've been kind of brushing him off. But hey, man, you finally got me. So I definitely appreciate you having me on the show. So I've been knowing Metaclean Rupert since he was Rupert the Bear when we came in December. So I remember the funniest thing I remember that when I first met Rupert, he had this English accent, and he had the dreads, and I was telling everybody, man, this is Lennox Lewis. So for months straight, I was telling people, hey, Metaclean Rupert is this guy Rupert the Bear. This is Lennox Lewis. I met Lennox Lewis in the metaverse. But yeah, we really, hit it off. We became friends. We used to hang out late nights, just talking about our visions in the metaverse. And we just continue to grow our relationship. I consider him a good friend of mine. So yeah, I'm glad you went from a bear to, I'm glad you clean now, Rupert. All right, so I appreciate you all coming out to see me. Y'all could have been anywhere else. You guys could have been, building or, playing games, but I definitely appreciate you all coming to see me. So let me jump right into it. My name is Meta Big Chief. Je m'appelle le Grand Chef en español, el Grande Jefe en portugués, o chefo. So I'm 36 years old and I currently live in Atlanta, Georgia with my wife. And we pretty much just celebrated our first anniversary last month. Um, I've been working for the United States federal government for the last, what, 13 years. So, so for 11 years, I worked for the U.S. Department of Defense where I bought and sold weapons. For the government, for our government and foreign governments. And I currently work for the United States Housing and Urban Development, doing property management contracts. Uh, so I've been to nearly 30 different countries all over the world. So I'm competent in three other languages other than English. So that's what that intro was. So getting into my origins, I grew up in two different places. I grew up in a place called Decatur, Illinois, which was which is about an hour and a half south of Chicago, and I also grew up in Memphis, Tennessee. So I split my time in both places. And in Decatur, I was raised with my grandparents, and we grew up in a very poor neighborhood. We didn't have a whole lot, but we had a lot of people who were like the community was together. So we had a community of people who we pretty much took care of each other. So I remember, growing up, the only people who lived in my neighborhood were, older people, children, and drug dealers. So in my neighborhood, what happened was the older people in the community, they commandeered a lot, and they pretty much dug it up, and they grew food there. So we had a bit of a community garden and a mini farmers market. So at this farmers market, we didn't exchange dollars for food. We pretty much exchanged food for food. So being living in this community, I grew up in a community to where we all depend on each other to, survive. So, without each other, our whole neighborhood would have possibly crumbled. So, in saying this, when I come in this space, when I'm coming to your worlds, I'm liking them, I'm sharing them, I'm promoting you. That's just a part of my upbringing of, community. So I've always kept my sense of community because together all of us we can win together, and we need each other for survival. So my most of my time was spent as a younger child with my grandfather, who was a very industrious man. He was a very charismatic guy. He was a Korean War veteran, and he valued hard work. And something about him was, there was no job that was too demeaning for him. So people would call him for all different kind of odd jobs and stuff like that. And he would bring me along with him, and he was teaching me, I mean, you got to do what you got to do, to survive out here. So he was retired, but he was a scrap hustler. Does anybody in here know what a scrap hustler is? I guess no. I guess Nemo, Black Solar, Shay. Yeah, y'all know. So a scrap hustler is pretty much a person who will take any kind of metal, scrap metal, and they sell it for money. So as a child, we would ride around a lot, and we'd pick up anything that's metal. We'd drag it back to the house, and we would strip it down. And he would carry a magnet in his pocket and pretty much say, "Hey, this here is this is brass, this is tin, this is not good, this is aluminum, this is copper." So the biggest thing we he hustled were cans, drink cans, beer cans, all of that. So that was pretty much, my main job. Anywhere, we saw a can, pick it up, throw it in the back of the truck. We had accumulated a lot of cans over the years, and I say over like a 3-year period. And any can that he saw, hey, go get it. We could be riding down the street and somebody could throw out a can, and he'd stop and tell me to jump out. Hey, get that can. So for about 3 years, we did that, and we accumulated a lot of cans, and it got so out of control and ridiculous that my grandmother was telling, "Hey, y'all need to get this up." So we finally took it to the place. We took all the metal and stuff like that to the place, and they weigh it and they pay you, based on the weight. So I remember, I was a child, so what happened was, we had the cans and, all the checks were different for the different metals. So he pretty much got a $700 check, for the cans. We got in the truck and he handed it over to me. He said, this is yours. You work for this. So, as a child, that's the most money I'd ever seen in my life. I thought I was rich. So, I bought a pair of Jordans, I bought a FUBU shirt, I bought a no limit chain from the middle of the mall, and went to the movies a couple times, and then I realized something. I didn't want to spend it because I guess throughout that whole process, I was taught the value of a dollar. So it took me a long time. It took me a lot of hard work to get it, and I know it's like now, when's the next time I'm gonna get this $700? So I have to make this last, and that's with easy money, fast and easy money, it usually goes. So I learned the value of a dollar, very quickly. So um, a majority of my life, I was an athlete. I played 4 different sports. I played football, baseball, basketball, and track. At times I played on 2 different teams for, throughout the year. And I guess the wild thing about that is, I was still, working with my grandfather. So during that time, we'd work all day, and then, it's time for practice. I'm looking at the clock and like, hey, I got practice. He's like, yeah, I know. And so he's like, yeah, you're gonna get there. So, I would get to practice, and the coaches would say, you look tired, but you still got to make your time. So, I would have to go from, doing any kind of odd job with my grandfather to going to, practice and, being expected to perform at a high level. So, that's that. And all this is going to tie in each other. So, my life in Memphis. So, like I said, I was back and forth from Decatur to Memphis. So, the older I got, the more time I spent in Memphis. My father, he's from Memphis. My mother, she was from Decatur. So, in Memphis, I enrolled in high school. I was in high school there, and my high school, it was probably one of the roughest high schools in Memphis. So, a few people who went there, Albert Means, Yo Gotti, and our very own Shay Arts. So, it was a rough place. We didn't learn a lot about, our studies, math, science, and all of that. We learned about life, and we learned about the ebbs and flows of, how life can come at people. So, during that time, I saw, classmates murdered. I saw people overdose. I saw people pulling, food out the trash can to take home to eat, and it was just a really jarring place. But pretty much, we survived it. It's a lot of people who came out of it and did really well. So whenever I see like Shay in this space, it always warms my heart. So we fast forward to I went to college on an academic scholarship, but I walked on at Middle Tennessee State, and I played a couple years of Division I college. Towards the end of my college career, I became an intern, for the Air Force. I was a computer programmer. And, after that, I had already had a security clearance. So when I graduated from college, I joined I worked at the United States Department of Defense in Huntsville, Alabama. So it's one of those things to where, God puts you in a place to where, he gives you vision. So he pretty much sat me down. I was a real dynamo. I was all over the place. I just had to do something, and I was itching. It was just I had to get into something all the time. But when I got to Alabama, I was really able to just sit down and pretty much, reflect back on my life and think about where I've been and try to plan out where it is that I was going. So when I got to Alabama, man, I was bored out of my mind. Like I didn't know what to do with myself. So I said, you know what? I'm gonna just start getting into my stuff. I'm gonna just start reading a lot. So for a year straight, every day I just read books, and I could probably say during that time I may have read about a about 150 to 200 books on economics, self-help books. I read novels. I read anything from like Charles Dickens to Richard Wright to Toni Morrison to Jonathan Franzen to uh, James Joyce, just everybody. So I became a like almost a literary scholar, during that time. And then I had an idea. I said, you know what? I'm a pretty creative person, so I'm gonna write a novel. So every day, I came home from work and I pretty much, wrote this novel, and the amount of time and discipline that it takes to just sit there and write a novel, like let alone even read a novel, but just sit there and write it. That pretty much gave me discipline to come in every day and just be focused on one thing. And when you have extreme focus, you're able to get a lot done. So it took me maybe a year and a half to write this novel. And next thing you do when you write a novel, once you finish a novel, is you need to find a literary agent. So I, sent the first few pages off to a literary agent, sent the query letters off and all of that. And you know, I was getting a lot of response back, but all of those were rejection letters. So I may have received maybe like 50 to 60 rejection letters. I had put them all in a trash bag, and I'm like, man, maybe, I knew that I was good, but maybe, it was something wrong with them. So I continued to write, and I just had a flood of ideas, and I couldn't write fast enough to, put all my ideas on paper. So what I did was I said, okay, how can I, do this more efficiently? So I went in and I pretty much started screenwriting. And with screenwriting, screenplay could be, 40 to 100 pages. I could get out all of my ideas. So I pretty much jumped back on that hamster wheel, and I was writing a lot of screenplays, and I pretty much, was sending them off to Hollywood, and pretty much got the same thing. Got rejected. Nobody was, willing to talk to me. Nobody was really willing to really just, give me a chance. So me after that, I'm like, okay, nobody's reading my screenplays, and I'm like, okay, what if I just shot this myself? So I pretty much went back into that mode of extreme focus, to where I bought a camera, I bought equipment, I bought lights, I bought all kind of stuff. I bought mannequins, I bought props, just so I could figure out, how to get the angles right. And I know, from the time, that I was actually learning, how to use my camera, how to film and everything, I know I've freaked a lot of people out, because, when you walk to my apartment, you see a lot of mannequins and props, sitting around like, man, what kind of serial killer is this? But I did, end up learning how to use the camera, and pretty much I got good at it. And me and a partner of mine, we started a videography company. Ended up shooting my own movie, a feature length movie. And one thing, so one of the I say the second hardest thing you could ever do in life is shoot a movie. But the hardest thing you could ever do is shoot a movie without a budget. So, I'm in the middle of Alabama, and that was the hardest thing I've ever done in my life, was shoot a feature length movie in Alabama. So, first you got to deal with equipment, you got to deal with locations. I've had guns poured out over, while shooting this movie. I pour guns on people while shoot movies. So it was just a crazy time in life, but it was one of those things that I was just determined to finish. So that I finished it, and I pretty much self-published it through Amazon. And you know it had been what, in retrospect, it wasn't a really good movie, but it was mine, and I was happy with the output. And everyone, it got bad reviews and everything, but on the other hand, it got good reviews. So, I became, I was the best director in a film festival and all of that. So, you always got to take the good with the bad. And I was a little bit discouraged, but the film had been distributed, across the world, and this guy from Germany, he sent me an email. I don't know how he got my email, but he pretty much was like, "Yeah, I love the movie. Keep going." And I was like, "Oh wow, people, actually, are watching this." So, I pretty much, continue to, do film, do videography. I've worked with Dreamhampton, I've worked with CBS Sports, and all the kind of stuff. So, whatever it is you're pursuing, always continue to pursue it. Keep at it, because everybody starts small. And I think Jay Dunn, he has this. this saying, he says, don't despise the day of small beginnings because, everybody has to start, somewhere. All right. So I'll transition and let me transition to, the metaverse, me getting, into this space. So I got into this space. I bought my Oculus at the end of November of last year. I had a few buddies here in Atlanta. We'd always, sit around and talk business and all of that stuff. So, one guy said, are y'all in the metaverse? And, none of us were. We were like, no, we're not. He was like, yeah, y'all really need to get into it. And, he's an all space guy. So he's like, yeah, man, you got to get alt space. You got to get, VR chat. And so when I first, put on a headset, I went into alt space. I was kind of, moving around because it was jarring, me getting into this space, well, into, VR just period. Your brain has to adjust to everything going on. So went into alt space and the first day, I'm moving through, I'm seeing, people having conversations. I'm hearing other languages talking, and I'm like, wow, this is another world. And this guy, he comes up to me and he says, hello. And I'm like, "Hey, you talking to me?" He's like, yeah. I was like, yeah, hello. He's like, where are you from? I was like, shit, man, I live in Atlanta. I was like, where are you from? He was like, I'm from Algeria. I'm like, "Come on, Algeria, the country?" He said, "Yes." And I was like, "Oh, okay." Then he pretty much asked me, how's the weather there? I asked him the same, and he was like, "I'll catch you later. I got to go pray." And I was kind of frozen. I was like, "Wow, like this thing here has unlimited potential. Like the amount of reach that you could get." I just talked to a guy from Algeria and he's halfway on the other side of the earth, so I recognize potential, but alt space I didn't really see a future in alt space. So I knew that Facebook had Horizon, so I signed up for the Horizon account and I came in here and pretty much I was an arena class guy. I was a huge arena class guy, so I played arena clash, and I was pretty much doing a lot of world hopping. And I think everybody here, well, most of the black creators in this space, I think everybody's part of everybody's origin story, starts off in out in Hardy World. So I had visited Hardy World on my own. I was in there by myself. I looked around and I was like, "Oh, this guy, this guy gets it. Like he's on to something here." So I reached out to Hardy on Instagram, and I'm like, I see what you did here. You wanna talk or this and that. So he was like, hey, y'all know Hardy. Yeah, man, get on my call. So I was like, all right, I get on your call. So, pretty much got on his call and he gave a lot of good information and after the call we all met at Hardy World and that's where I met Rupert the Bear, now medically and Rupert. Met him. I met a lot of people. I met Black Harley. Who else was in there? Leo the architect. Who else? I can't remember who else. Oh, Manny, DJ Manny, he was in there. Him and Solo Dolo. Um, so it was a cool night, and pretty much I was, Harder's like, y'all got to start building. So I came into the space. I never really was intent on building anything. Um, but I said, you know what, I'll go ahead and give it a shot. So I did the tutorial. I could barely even build the bridge, but I saw it as a challenge. I was like, okay. maybe I can, build something in here. So I pretty much, took my time and I said, you know what, I'm going to build an aquarium. So I went in, I built a deep sea aquarium, and I invited, Rupert, and Hardy, and who else was it? I actually invited L Trim, to come look at it. Everybody liked it, and Hardy gave me a few tips like, look, yeah, you got to snap this, you got to learn to use the snap tool, and your colors, the way that your colors clash, and contrast and all of that. So he pretty much was like, you're a good builder, but if you get these things together, you'll be a better builder. And you know what, he liked it so much that he said, you know what, I'm gonna put your door at Hardy World. So, to this day, my first world door is still in Hardy World. So we fast forward to my next build, which was, the Wiz. And during that time, I was connected with a lot of good builders, and Rupert mentioned the Times Square project. So, I got around a lot of good builders. Rupert, I met Dunder, Leo the Architect, Dot, Black Harley, and Cam Bam, which is that's like my right hand man. If you usually see me, you see Cam. We have a lot of good time. Building together and just talking about life. So during that time, I was able to learn from some of the best builders in Horizon. Learn how to scale with Dunder and Leo. Learn detail. Dot, Cam, and Black Harley. So when I was working on the Wiz World, Black Harley came in as a tester, and she pretty much came in there and just chewed me up. Like, you can't do that. Like, look at that. That's right there. That ain't snap. That right there is Z ribbon. You don't give somebody a seizure. This and that. This and that. But she like, well, overall, it's a good world. And at the time, Black Harley didn't like anybody's worlds. So she really helped me out. And my scripting journey started there. Actually, it was Michael Gregory who actually helped me start scripting. So, I was looking around, I was like, I need help with a script. And Michael was like, yeah, sure, no problem. I said, what I owe you? He's like, nothing. He said, man, just I like the world. So, I'll get started on this. So he pretty much got started on the scripting. And, when I looked at it, after what he did, because he had to leave, and I looked at it and I was like, oh, this makes sense now. Like all this stuff makes sense. So I pretty much went in and finished the script, and he came back in. It was like, oh man, you're done? I was like, yeah. He's like, oh man. He said, I was gonna finish it. I was like, no, man, you don't know how much you just helped me out. Cause now I figured out, the logic behind, these scripting blocks and code blocks and all of that. So it was I'm always, grateful, for him taking the time to just sit there and do that for me. So throughout the space, I just continued to build. I built Dracula's Escape Room, which was, my most successful world, before I got to Regal Boxing. So, the concept of Regal Boxing is I wanted to do a player versus player. I didn't see, an actual boxing game in this space. So me being a competitive person and just a competitor, the only games in here were pretty much shooting games. So I said, okay, I'm gonna figure out how to, get this boxing done. So I built the first iteration of the Regal Boxing Stadium, and it was big. It was very detailed. It's like I built it at the scale of a regular stadium that you would see here out in the real world. So I was still a beginning scripter. So I think Hardy had put me in touch with Matt from Inspire, and we talked. I brought him to the world to work. Work the deal, and he said he was going to help me with the scripting. So we did that, and then Matt looked around the world and said, like, this is a nice world, but you're wasting too much space in here. So he's like, let's talk to one of the team members, and let's work together to reduce this space, because you really have something here. Like, this is gonna be something special, and we really want to help you. So we got together and pretty much stripped down the design to a simple design, to where it was conducive to a player versus player gameplay. And that's the stadium that you see today. That's why it runs so efficient. That's why you get in and out of the ring so fast. That's why the matches are fast paced. That's why, that's how you can feel that it's a very competitive environment inside of there. So I launched the world Regal Boxing. Oh, before Regal Boxing was done, it was complete. Two, maybe a month and a half, 2 months before it was released. But Horizon put that boundary, the mandatory boundary on us. So they had pretty much killed my whole game for a while. So I was like, okay, do I release it now, or do I wait until Horizon comes with any further guidance? So my mind told me you need to wait. So I waited those month and a half, 2 months, and they finally took our boundary off, and I published Regal Boxing, and the rest was history. People came in, they enjoyed it. They still enjoy it to this day. So that's pretty much been my journey, when it comes to, in this space. So, are there any questions? I mean, I know I've been just rambling on. Anybody have any questions like so far? All right, Sarah, you're on mute right now.
So what was the name of the movie you made?
It was called Cartellers.
Cartellers.
Yeah, if you look it up, it's still on IMDb. So if you look it up, I think it's still on Amazon. Um, but yeah, it was called Cartellers.
Okay, I'd love to watch that and give some feedback on that sometime.
Hey, be gentle.
Don't worry. Thank you.
I met. You went back down, man. Young Russ. That's my brother Russ right there.
Hey, what's up, bro? Hey, I had a question. So, what was it that made you that when you looked at the script made you understand the scripting that popped that light bulb in your head? Like, oh, I understand it now.
I think I just had to see it in practice, because in my head I knew what I wanted the script to do, and I told Michael, like, this is what I need the script to do. And so I guess, since it was one of the things that I wanted it to do, and when I looked at it, like, I just took it one block at a time. Like, when
Right.
you do this, this happens, this and this happens. Then I started looking at how he linked everything, from the triggers to the lights that I needed, the trigger to the motion and stuff like that. And I'm looking, I'm like, oh, okay. So then I looked at videos, and I pretty
Right.
much started building with him from scratch. And all of it just came to me. And like I said before, I have a bit of a computer programming background, so
Yeah,
it
a
all
little bit
just came.
easier.
Yeah, it made it a bit
Right.
easier.
All right. Right on, man.
Meta, did you have a question? Divine?
Big Chief,
Hey,
this
Devon.
whole time I've been treating you like you were elder and you 36 years old. You only 6 years older than me? Next time I
Yeah,
see you sit up this way.
I'm a
No.
young old man.
No, you just carry yourself like so maturely, and I appreciate you. Like you've always been so kind and loving. So wow, amazing. Glad to
Yeah,
be here.
I appreciate you too. But I guess to go to that, like you understand, I worked with the military for a long time, so that pretty much kind of kept me at bay, and a lot of people think I've been in like actual military, but I've just worked alongside the military. So, but I still had to maintain that discipline, in the job that I was doing. Dash, you in a party? We can't hear you.
When you figured out coding, right?
Hmm.
Did you think you could like do it all by yourself? Like do a little bit of coding by yourself?
When I figured it out, I'll say about 80% of the things, I could figure out when I did figure it out. I can't stand up here and say, I know everything, but yeah, after I figured out the logic behind it, it made it much easier to do other things. And yeah, shout out to Dash and Cookie Monster. They're really good friends of mine, regulars at Regal Boxing. Cookie Monster is actually the champion in Regal Boxing, and Dash is number 3. So yeah, shout out to y'all. I appreciate y'all coming through. Um, we got any? All right, Meta Man.
Yes, sir. What's up, Big Chief? What's up, everybody? I guess mine is a two-part question. So, on the one hand, do you feel like you could be or could have been successful in the metaverse if you didn't start building? Like, of course, building or becoming a builder helped. But if say like just say you tried and it wasn't working for you, do you think you still could have found success in here without that?
Yeah, I would have figured it out. I would have figured out something because it's just in me. You know what I mean? It just
Mm,
like I would have figured it out. I would have tried to find, another angle. If I wasn't gonna build, I was gonna find another angle. I would have DJ'd. I would have, learned how to do music. I would have found myself, in a useful position, within this space.
right, that hustler's ambition. And the second part, this will be real quick. I'm sorry. The second part is boxing a passion of yours in real life, or was it just an opportunity you found in here to take boxing into the metaverse? Or like do you like is it part of your like your real life
So
hobbies
I'm
or
a,
interests?
so I'm a huge boxing fan. I'll tell
Figured that.
you that. But when I was younger, I boxed for a short period, not long.
Hmm.
But I always, I loved boxing. Like even as a kid, I remember when Mike Tyson lost to Buster Douglas. Like I literally
Oh,
hated Buster Douglas, and I cried.
what a rough,
Yeah,
what a rough era.
yeah. But yeah, man, it's always been one of those things I've kept close to me.
I can tell because you can kind of tell when people like how the detail and the attention you put into the boxing ring. I figured you either had to have been a boxer or just really loved it coming up, so you could tell. I just wanted to ask just for my own. But thank you for
Oh
clearing it up.
man,
My bad
I
for asking two
appreciate it.
questions.
Oh no, you
Yeah,
good,
you're
man.
good.
Ask as many
I'll
as you
take this
need.
elevator down.
Rupert the Bear.
So, hi, Big Chief. I'm Rupert. Nice to meet you. So,
Oh, Sean.
so let me ask you, man. uh, I'm sorry, but every time I get around this dude, you got me cracking up. I'm sorry. On a serious note, so the road that you've taken, right? It's gaming. So, what do you think, or how do you think that evolves now in this space?
I'm going to continue to do gaming. You know, gaming is I just realized that, being in this space and just doing some, thinking about, you know, my journey in life, and I've always been a gamer. Um, there have been periods, that I didn't play games, but in essence, I've always been a gamer. I've always wanted to compete. Um, when these games came out, Super Mario, I was there, Super Nintendo, Sega, the PlayStation 1, when Metal Gear Solid came out, Tekken, all of those games. So I was always a big gamer, but I never realized it. And, I just realized, it was a passion of mine. And when I finally got the opportunity to, be able to create, my own games, that pretty much, just took my imagination, all over the place.
So second part, sorry. So I don't know if anybody realizes this, but Regal Boxing is not just a boxing ring. Do you want to talk about the Regal verse? What's all involved in that?
So yeah, I pretty much with Regal Boxing, I wanted to create, you know, a metaverse within the metaverse, and I call it the Regal verse. So I wanted to introduce, different concepts, in this space. And one concept, that I had not seen were, record keeping. So, I wanted to do a, Hall of Champions, because, I was an athlete, and, I know how it feels, to win. I know how it feels to lose. And I know how it feels to be, memorialized and, whenever you do something great. So, I wanted to, have that, for, people who were, really, into the game, like, the hardcore gamers, hardcore players, hardcore users, because of, man, and I hadn't seen that here in this space. So, I have a, press room, I have a club, let's see what else. Let's see, press room, club, boxing. I think that's it. But yeah, I just wanted, all those worlds to kind of connect to each other, and you go through one world and you can see the other world, off in a distance somewhere. So that was one of those things, and I tell a lot of creators, especially when I see like a really good build, I always say, you should continue this. Build, something else, and just have a set of just interconnected worlds, because then, you'll have your own metaverse within the metaverse.
Any other
Anybody?
questions for
Anybody else?
Shay? I know you got something to say. You from Memphis.
Hey, Mother Big Chief. I just want to say, first of all, kudos to you for, hold on, my baby. Kudos to you for all that you accomplished in this space and your world that everyone loves, that's comfortable for adults and children to go have fun in. Like, real boxing is always popping. Um, I want to say, big shout out to Xavion too for getting us all together to do the Memphis World, because with
Yes,
that I was able to like really get to know you and Herbert, and like really get to talk to y'all in a way that I hadn't had the opportunity yet. And it was great to find out the similarities that we had, and just even now I appreciate you coming on Meta Talks and telling your story. So we can know, the man behind the world and why you do what you do. And I appreciate all of it. You have a large intentional presence, and I appreciate that.
I appreciate you, Noah.
Birdie?
Bird, what's up?
What's happening, big time? You hear me?
Yeah, 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 yeah.
All right, cool, cool. So I'm listening to all this you're an athlete, and all these other things. So that tells me you're very competitive. So with that being said, how much do you pay attention to, like, I mean, the competitive side of what you're doing in regards to, you know what I'm saying, others within the sports genre and things like that? How much do you pay attention to? Oh, am I on the top 100, or how's my world doing and things like that? How much do you pay attention to that?
I'd be lying if I said I didn't pay attention to it. You know, when if there's like a day or two, a day or two when I don't see, a lot of people in, I'll go in there and it's funny because I'll go in there, I look around, I'm like, you know what, maybe I'm done. And then, I sit in there for a little bit, and then a little kid will come, little kid I've never seen. He's like, "Hey, you want to fight?" And like, sure, let's go. Like, you're not finna beat me in my own game. So that's where that competitiveness comes in, and I'll come in and I'll fight with them, a couple rounds, and they're laughing, they're having a good time, and I'm like, you know what, this is what it's all about. Then, you know, after a while, more people start coming in, and more people come in, and next thing it's packed. So, you know, it's a journey, going into empty world, leaving a full world, everybody's having fun, it's like, okay, I'm back. All right, so Dash.
Um, that you know, after you said that you wouldn't let someone beat you at your own game, after this, maybe do you want a 1v1?
Hey man, we'll see. See, they're just as competitive as I am.
That kid's got spunk. That's good.
Listen, I just want to know, has
Go on,
Cookie
boys.
Monster whipped your behind yet?
Listen, and I'm gonna be completely honest. I don't win at all my stories, but yeah, Cookie Monster beat me up. Dash beat me up in the ring, so they're a lot better than I am. But I'm still competitive, so I got to jump in there. Yeah, Black Solar.
What's up? Can you hear me?
Yeah, I hear you.
Yeah, so I got two questions, but before I get to that, I just want to say it's a lot of people that fake the funk with that whole community thing, and I think some people throw that word around loosely to kind of like put people to sleep and do evil, basically, you know what I'm saying? But I can honestly say ever since I met you, you know what I'm saying, you've been cool, and I appreciate you telling your story because it's inspiring to say the least. You know what I'm saying? And I remember like I would see you all the time, but we never really would get a rap, you know what I'm saying, for real. And I went to one of your press things and you was dressed like Don King. You feel me? And I was like, bruh,
Chief King.
yeah, I like this dude. You know what I'm saying? Like it was just like I saw you and instantly just was in tears laughing. You know what I'm saying? So I think on one hand you can be a bit mild mannered, but at the same time you can turn up too. And uh
Oh.
damn, oh shit.
I can still hear you. You got the chair.
Can you hear me? Hold on. Yeah, my thing just glitched. Can you hear me now?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Yeah, so what I was gonna say was too, I remember just recently, you feel me, I had um a release in my world, one of my worlds, and you pulled up, which was huge for me. Uh and then you had two kids with you. And I was kind of tripped out, like this dude hang with all the, you know what I'm saying, people that want to knock people out. And when he pull up, he got kids with him. So I didn't get it at first. And then you pulled me to the side and was like, well, I know if the kids like it, then you got some in it because they don't lie, they don't hold no punches. Excuse the pun, you know what I'm saying? So then I understood what you was doing, and it just gave me a respect because I'm a real big family guy. And the fact that you just, you know what I'm saying, take these random kids under your wings and teach them and let them follow and all that is just one of the most beautiful things I've seen in this space. So with that being said, I got two questions, which one is, what advice would you give to a newbie that wants to learn how to script? And two, what do you think has been the best or most classic match in Regal boxing all time?
Hmm. Okay, so let's see. The first one, scripting. I say, take your time, go through every code block. Um, Pretty much go through every code block and see what it does. So connect your code block to a trigger when player enters trigger, and just pretty much go down your movement blocks. You know, when player enters trigger, move, this to that. When player enters trigger, respawn player here. When player enters trigger, because a lot of it is repetitions. So once you figure out what does what, I say start with triggers, because when you first start the script, the way you set off a script is through an event. And that's going to be the first thing that you see on the tab on your right. So you use that first tab and just go through and find the trigger first and start working the triggers. And once you get a knowledge and you get comfortable with the triggers, everything will come to you, because you're gonna say, okay, when I enter trigger, it does this. When I enter trigger, it does this. When I enter trigger, it does this. It's repetition. When I enter trigger, it does this. Then you start exploring something else. When I grab object, it could do this. Oh, if I grab the object, it could do the same thing as this trigger. So then you do grab objects. When I grab the object, it'll change this color. When I grab the object, it'll respawn the player. So pretty much go through the progression and get those reps in. And part two of your question, the most classic match in Regal. Hmm. So there are two of them that come to mind. So one of them is with Cookie Monster and Rubber Band Man. And Rubber Band Man, he's another, hardcore, Regal boxer, and he's very competitive. And they fought in the championship of the first Regal Summer Tournament, and it came down to the wire, but it was a really good match. So the second one is, I think it's Rubber Band Man and Camino. Camino was the second champion in Regal boxing. No, actually, it was Cookie Monster and Camino. It was community night, and I think everybody was in there. So it was pretty much number one and number two just fighting. I mean, they were just battling all night, just going back and forth, beating on each other. But it was a fun night. But I say that's the most classic battle that we've had in Regal that I've seen.
For sure. Thank you.
Russ.
Yeah. So, a question, man. Do you have any dates on when your next tournament's gonna be? And if so, what for? If anyone that wants to join, what they can do or how they can get into the event?
I don't have the date yet, but it's going to be late October, early November, and the tournament sign up when I open it up is going to be at www.regalboxing.com under the tournament
Okay,
sign
right.
up tab. So I'll let you know. We'll talk. We'll talk either this week or next week, Russ, so we can start planning
Yeah,
on
yeah.
the
But
next
for
event.
anyone that wants to join, or say people that see this or that are online or wherever that may want to be a part of the next event, they'll go to Regal, right? The WWE website.
Yes. Yes.
Right on. Right on.
Any other questions? Because I do have just a quick, I guess, segment that I do want to talk about. So, new creators, when you're new in this space, I know I just touched on scripting, for Black Solar Powers, but new creators, when you come in this space and, you start building. So, the things you need to focus on when you build. The first one is snapping. You know, s- Learn to use the snap tool. The snap tool will pretty much save your life and save any build that you have. It makes it look professional. Makes everything clean and flush. Second thing is scaling. So, with scaling, some worlds they involve some worlds don't really need scaling because they're kind of fantasy worlds, but other worlds when you want to add a sense of realism and a sense of the feeling that you're kind of in the real world, your scaling is probably one of the biggest tools or biggest skills that you could have. If you look at the grid, if you don't adjust your grid is 1 meter by 1 meter. So that's 3 feet by 3 feet. So if you look at your grid, and you could pretty much measure out the dimensions of a house, a building, pretty much anything. Is as long as you know your measurements and long as your measurements are on point. Also, learn scripting because it's, you could build a beautiful car, but it's the engine that makes that car run. Lamborghini looks good, but everybody brags on the engine. So the script that pretty much is what makes your world go. That's the engine that drives your world. Always build worlds with things to do. If it's not an art world, you need to have something in your world that pretty much people can hold, people can play with, people can compete against each other, or just props, something that people can take pictures with. So when it comes to gaming, you got to really get into the principles of game design. So when you're designing a game, there are four different types of people who play games. So you got explorers, you have the social people, you have the achievers, and you have the killers. So the explorers, they're the people who they come into a game and they want to walk around, they want to enjoy the space, they want to soak in the space, they want to find Easter eggs, they want to look for things, they want to touch things, they want to explore, they want to find new places, they want to find trap doors and hidden places. You got the social people. They come in and they're looking for social interaction. Who can I talk to? Who can I meet here? And they enjoy being around with other people. Then you have the achievers. The achievers are people who they like to see their name on board. So think about leaderboards. The achievers love to see their name on the leaderboard. They're trying to reach the top of the leaderboard, or even if they're not trying to get up top, they're at least trying to show some kind of improvement. And the last type of gamer are the killers. So the killers, they just exist to come in and just beat people. Like no matter what the game is, they just want to beat people. They don't care about the rank. They get a satisfaction out of just winning. So where you could utilize um one of those skill sets. You'll have an okay game. If you utilize two, you'll have a pretty good game. But if you could utilize all four, you'll have a pretty successful game when it comes to design. Um, but yeah, those are little tidbits that I have when it comes to building. We got any other questions uh, on that?
Hey, I don't really have a question, but I have more of a statement kind of thing that in regards to new builders. Now, I have a measuring stick that's a free asset. If anyone wants to use that and is a new builder, it goes up to 3 meters or 10 feet high. and you basically walk around your world with this measuring stick in your hand, and it can measure your countertops, your doors, windows, furniture, anything really up to 10 feet high. Big Mama Bethany's been using it multiple times just to build her houses. It's hilarious. I love her. But anyway, so yeah, it's a free asset. Just like message me and I can make you an editor and you can grab it, whatever. So yeah, thanks. Just wanted to make that mention.
Hey, we definitely appreciate that, and that's what community is all about. Right there. He has an asset, he has a tool. Definitely get with him and use it. Teray, hey, before
Hey,
you ask your question,
okay.
I do want to send a big shout out to Teray. Teray was one of those guys I met in December, and I was building my world. He was one of the first people to come to the aquarium, and he pretty much was like, let him tell it. I thought he was just being extra, but he was just like, man, this is one of the best worlds I ever seen. It's a dad, and he was going bringing people to the world like, oh, you gotta see Big Chief's world. Like he would bring just boatloads of people into the world, and he was just really instrumental in getting the word out. That I created this really good world, and which I just thought it was alright at the time, but
Yeah,
brother, I definitely
dude.
appreciate you.
I just want to just man give you your roses, bro, because like I said, the first time I saw your world, the aquarium, I'm like, bro. And then like at that time, everybody was just going to clubs, like club, 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 club. And at that time, I wanted something different. But when you showed me your world, I said, this dude is like crazy, like just hidden talent, bro. And just to see like everything you done did, even with Rupert, man, like bro, like man, like he showed me a screenshot of I think me back in Hardy World back in December or something. I was like, and
Hmm.
that's where I met both of y'all, bro. So just to man, it's just amazing, bro. Like, yeah, man, flowers to both of y'all, bro. Like, thank you
Yeah,
for
man.
pushing this.
Appreciate y'all,
Yeah,
man.
yeah. Shout out to
Appreciate you,
you, man.
Teray.
Go check out Teray's artist. He has an artist called Jay Howe. He's an R&B singer. Just released the album. So, you get a chance, man. Go check him out. We got any other questions? If not, I'll get to the last portion. So right now, when it comes to building and being a part of the community, we really gotta come together. Share ideas and all this beefing that we do have in this space, man. It's not good for business. So you know, Spain is here, France is here. You know, we got these other countries here now, and they came in. They got back to work, and they're pretty much working together. They have a different train of thought. When it comes to building, scripting, all of that. So I've been to their worlds. I've seen them script, I've seen them build, and I look at certain things. I'm like, huh, why didn't I think of that? But they're bringing in a different kind of innovation, to this space, and I think with a lot of the bickering that we have, it's not good. I compare it to Game of Thrones, so right now, that scene comes to mind when Jon Snow went to see Daenerys, and he's telling them, these White Walkers are coming, they're coming, they're going to wreak destruction on the land and all of that. And, we won't have anything left, if we keep fighting amongst ourselves. So, with that being said, man, we really need to, come together. If we're doing business, do good business, do what you say you're going to do. If you're paid to do something, do what you're paid to do. If you can't do it, give the money back. Um, just don't take advantage of people. Just be a straight up business person. Everything will, everything will work out because you live by your reputation. And once you get a bad reputation of, screwing people over or not keeping your word or anything like that, it's kind of hard to shake. So, do good business, just for the sake of good business and just being, a good person. Uh, but yeah, that's all that I have. I won't get up here and preach. I'll end it in saying this, that, we're still early here, in this space, in this metaverse, in this whole Web3 thing. So, right now, if you compare it to, the pilgrims coming over from, Europe, we're only in maybe Virginia. We still have, everything west to still explore. There are a lot of concepts that haven't been, explored yet. We haven't hit Tennessee. We haven't even hit the Mississippi River yet. So I just say, everybody just, load up your caravan and, we'll all get there together, hopefully. And that's all I have. Any other questions?
Any other questions for Big Chief?
This is the most I've ever talked in this space.
Facts. You on mute, Russ?
You're on mute, Russ.
Like, yeah, I'm still learning how to script and stuff, but have you guys thought of putting like have you guys tried or tried putting when you're making the scripts to add like how Cash App and PayPal have their own script? Have you thought about copying that script and putting it into a world to see if it gets the full function of a payment system to make it work like that?
So right now, we don't have that capability in here. So maybe I think there may be a way to do it now that you brought that up. We don't have that capability, but I think I want somebody to try this. But I think if you take a picture of your Cash App and use it as like a door like use it as a door. Right. Nah, that wouldn't work because you need your phone.
But you know how you get things to function with the script, and when you put that trigger does this trigger does that. If we're able to copy that script and add some triggers to it, would it be able to function at the same way in a certain way?
No, Horizon doesn't have that API just yet.
Right. Okay.
But I think the only way what I'm talking about would work if somebody was on a PC and they had their phone and they could scan a QR code from that door, on their, See, I'm giving out ideas, Rupert.
But, so yeah, because there is things where you can get a generate a QR code, and like you said, you could probably put it through the door. But how would they scan it? That's what I would have to do
from
the
a
PC with their phone.
Yeah, so it had to be through a PC because we can't scan it, with in here and be directed to a link because we're pretty much locked into this space. So that'd be an external link. So if you do it from a PC, I think that will work.
Right. Okay.
Yeah, but the other person would have to be on a PC.
Right. Okay. Cool. Right on.
Yeah. Somebody try that. Yeah. Let me know how it goes. Shay gonna try it. Yeah.
Yeah, we don't have Cash App
let me
in
know
Canada,
how that goes.
like at all, or Venmo, unfortunately.
What do you have, Sarah Fish?
I don't know, honestly, because I've been looking to see what we got, and it's only like crypto stuff or e-transfers. That's really, or we can use PayPal. That's about it.
Okay.
That's really it. PayPal.
Huh. Yeah. I would think Cash App would be in Cash App and Venmo would be in Canada.
We don't have any of that. So.
Oh wow. Okay.
I think you guys are still trading in maple syrup. Last time I heard. No.
I can't hear you. What?
So I think you're still trading maple syrup. Last time I heard.
Oh yeah. And poutine.
And poutine, yeah.
Poutine.
Any other questions for Chief?
Any other questions for me?
Well, let me tell you, man. because I'm gonna give you your flowers because you absolutely deserve them. You have been absolutely one of the most solid dudes that I've come across in this space. Um, again, I talk to a lot of people, I build a lot of networks, but you've been absolutely consistent since day one, and it's always been a benefit to work with you um, on a social level and on a professional level too. So I really appreciate that. I really do. But I also know that you follow through with what you say you're going to do. So you're a man of your word, which is sometimes difficult to find in this space. So many ideas
Yes.
get floated around, and there aren't a lot of contracts. So we really sometimes have to kind of operate by our word. And this space has proven sometimes that not everybody is capable of doing that, but you've always been able to do that. If you can do it, you say you're going to do it. If you can't do it, you say that too. So I think everybody appreciates you for that. But on a bigger note, man, I think Chief has touched on a few things, right? One of the things that Black Solar Power brought up is like you have to be authentic to the build, right? So if you understand the space in which you're creating, the build is just going to come out different. So Chief understands a thing or two about a thing or two, and there's no secret formula for success. It's not really luck. People can say you've got lucky with this, but luck is really just a intersection between preparedness and being there when the opportunity arrives. So he's absolutely done the work though. It's not by happenstance that Regal Boxing is what it is. He's put the work in to make that successful, understanding the space and the dynamics and the visuals and the scripting and everything that goes along with maintaining a successful space, right? So don't ever think that just because you build it they'll come. You have to put the work in, because this is a business, right? We operate these little enclaves of how we move within the space, whether it be a world or a whole regal verse, right? Everything should be kind of operated as a business depending on the type of result you want to get. And again, it doesn't always have to be about that, but if you want to reach a certain level, you've got to operate in a certain manner. So
Yeah, and
I
let
appreciate
me
you,
add
man.
something. Let me add
Yeah,
something to that
sure.
real quick. So, when you do build, be open to constructive criticism, and yeah, let your ego go when you're building. So a lot of times, when I build, I bring the kids in, the younger people in, because they have no filter and they have no problem telling you, what's wrong with your world. Of you need to fix this or this and that. I don't like this and that, and it's very humbling, to have like an 11 or 12-year old, tell you everything that's wrong with what you're doing. So, that's what's in the secret sauce, when it comes to, building. And even when, somebody comes to your world and gives you constructive criticism, you need to really take that into account because with Regal Boxing, the first iteration of the stadium, had I not listened to, good sound advice, it wouldn't be as efficient as it is. So, yeah, that's
Yeah, awesome. And listen, so question I always ask, what's next for Meta Big Chief? What you got in store for us?
so soon we're gonna have the fall tournament and King of the Hill, show coming pretty soon. We're looking at late October, early November. I got three worlds in the works, three new ones. I know you guys will enjoy those, but I think right now I'm at a like creative explosion. So I have so many ideas now, but I don't have enough time to work on all of them at the same time. So I'm trying to finish everything as quick as I can. But hey, we know how that goes, and I'm still here open to help. I tell people you can hit me up anytime if you need my help. If it takes me more than 20 minutes, I probably won't be able to help you, but if it take me 20 minutes or less, I'll pop in, whatever you need. Hey, just holler at me.
Yeah, and it's not just Regal Boxing. So I'm just going to name a couple of the worlds. So MJ Lullabies. Has anybody been to that world? The Little Michael Jackson. Phenomenal world. X
Yeah, I
Men
made
Danger
MJ
Room.
moonwalk.
MJ. Oh, MJ's moonwalking now.
You don't remember
Yeah,
the
he's always been
moonwalk?
moonwalking.
No, no. I was telling everybody I brought the moonwalk to the
Oh
metaverse.
yeah, he brought the moonwalk to the metaverse. Yeah. Let me see. Danger Room, right? X Men Danger Room, phenomenal world. Um, the Dracula Escape Mansion, which I have still not been able to finish, so I don't go there anymore because it frustrates the hell out of me. Also a phenomenal world, but just kind of like hit after hit, but very thoughtful, entertaining world. So definitely check out his bio and visit some of his worlds when you get a chance.
Oh, and check out the Memphis. We did a Memphis series. Myself,
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
Shay Arts, Xavion, Infinite Rocket Power, Cutie the Sweetest, Herbert Joyce Jr., and Keshi's Hands. We pretty much made Memphis here in the metaverse. We did different areas of Memphis. We pretty much made these areas and brought it in. So when you guys get a chance, check out those worlds.
Yeah, Memphis is deep in here. I don't know why. Why y'all so deep in here?
Hey man, we deep everywhere. Grit and grind, baby. Grit and grind.
Y'all like baby's kids. We don't die, we multiply. But listen, man, listen. I appreciate you, Chief. Thank you for coming to the stage. Any final words before we wrap it up?
No, man, go build something great.
All right. Well, on that note, listen, I really, really, really appreciate you being here. I know I say it often. I'm a broken record. I understand. But I don't take any of this for granted with you guys spending the time that you spend with me here. You could have been anywhere else in the metaverse, but you've chosen to be here. And we're super, super appreciative and thankful. And with that said, it's a wrap. Y'all go have some fun.
Well, I wouldn't miss out on my favorite meta talk show anytime.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, appreciate you all coming out.
That was dope.
Now let's network. Get some
I was
contacts.
trying like hell.
Hey, listen, we about to wrap Meta Talks Live.
Good, man. Good
Appreciate
one.
you
Good
coming
show.
out
Appreciate you coming
and
through,
and
man.
sitting in with Meta
Yeah,
Big Chief.
bro, had to.
It's been an awesome
Top.
experience. We hope to see you on Thursday
wow.
with our guest Capricorn Rising.
Yeah.
Peace.
Yeah. Oh,
Yeah,
you still
mhm.
filming?
Oh, you
Yeah,
couldn't
so
hear
I
me,
looked
bro.
up
I
your
said,
film, and it's
you
not
said your
available
name
in
is what the
Canada.
fuck, my nigga.
Oh, I'm gonna have to
Oh,
find out
really?
another way to watch it. It's
Send me
like
an
not
address.
available in your area. I'm like, you gotta be
I-
kidding me.
I can send you a DVD.
Oh,
All right.
really?
Yeah. Send me
Oh,
an
that
address. I'll send you a DVD.
sure, man. Yeah, I'll message you, man. I appreciate that.
Hey,
Yeah,
Tom's
yeah,
gonna
I
autograph
will
it for
totally.
you.
What's up,
Yeah.
bro? How could I go about
Hey.
getting that tool you was talking about?
You want that tool.
Okay, so
Man,
I'm
right.
gonna add you.
I ended up
Appreciate you
missing
coming through,
I'm gonna
out
man.
follow you.
on a lot
I'm
of
gonna
it.
Hey,
add
listen,
you as
A
a
lot
uh,
of it
listener.
was so
Thank y'all
cool.
for
Me and
coming in
Cincinnati
and watching us tonight.
was
We
on a
really
whole
appreciate you
different
guys
spur.
being here.
All you gotta do is
Definitely
it's
go
all
ahead
right.
blank
and
world.
follow
Hey, that's a good
Beneficial
problem.
Gamers.
Okay.
And then you
Definitely got
just
the fire.
import
It's got the
that
air to the
world
street
that
in the
I gave you
metaverse.
as an
Yeah, I just
edit.
wish I
And
could
we
have
just
came
see
in
you
here
next week.
earlier.
Next guest on
I just
Thursday.
hold a
It's going to be
spot.
Capricorn Rising, so
You know,
don't
I
miss
kinda
that.
got in
Appreciate y'all.
You can
cool.
take that as an asset and import it in any of your worlds.
Yeah,
that
It's
you
yeah.
all
All
want.
right,
good.
Ruben.